Welcome to the 1010XL Soccer Show, covering the world's game at every level, from the biggest matches to the stories shaping the beautiful game. This is your home for soccer. Here's your host, JJ LaSelva.
Welcome back. Another episode of the 1010XL Soccer Show. As the guy just said, I'm your host, JJ LaSelva. It's great to join you once again. Another epic week of soccer just passed. Hopefully another epic week of soccer is ahead of us. A lot to talk about today, as always. I mean, I picked a really random time to start the show. We wanted to have a couple months leading up before the World Cup and then really hit our stride as the World Cup's getting started. But man, we picked a really juicy time of the year. Lots going on. So as we always do, we're going to preview a couple groups. These ones have a couple very important teams of the World Cup. Get to that in a second. We're going to talk about the Champions League last week, preview it coming up tomorrow. And we have drama at Real Madrid, folks. Real drama. This club's always made of drama. But we'll get into that a little bit later. So let's start with our Group I preview of the World Cup. This one has my favorite to win the World Cup in it, and probably most people's, France. I believe Spain is the betting favorite to win the World Cup, but I'm going with France. So they're in Group I. They're in a group with Norway, Senegal, and Iraq. So every year, or every 4 years, I should say, there's a group of death in the World Cup. That just means the hardest group, the toughest group there is. So with the expansion of the tournament, now we have 1,000 teams in it, which, don't get me started. More is not exactly better, guys. And I'm talking to you, College Football Playoff Committee. Sometimes less is more. So they've expanded the World Cup, which means we have a lot more teams in it, which means we don't really have a group of death because all the good teams are sort of spread out through all these groups. So this is as close as we're going to get, folks. France, Iraq, Norway, and Senegal. You'd think Norway's a good team. Yes, Norway's a freaking great team. They went 8 for 8 in their qualifying. They knocked Italy out. They got one of the best strikers, if not the best striker in the world. We'll get to them. So France, minus 250 favorites to win this group. They're heavy favorites. Norway, second place at plus 275. And Senegal, plus 750. So the difference between Norway and Senegal, I thought that would be closer. To me, those teams are competing to finish second in this group. But betting odds-wise, they got Norway way above Senegal. So let's go through this group really fast. France, absolutely stacked. I'm just going to give you a few of their players. Obviously, they lost in the final of the last World Cup against Messi in Argentina, but before that, they did win the World Cup. So Olise, Mbappe, Doué, Cherki, Zaire Emery, Camavinga, Dembele, all these guys are at the top of their game right now, the prime of their careers. Most of them, a couple maybe are still young and still maybe Ryan Cherki's prime of his careers until the next World Cup, but Doué as well. But most of these guys, like Olise and Mbappe, they could be the two best players in the world. Dembele, them three. This team is going to win this freaking group. If they don't, it's a massive disappointment. And those are all just attacking players, and Camavinga, a midfielder player. But at defense, they're great too. They're just all over the place. They have so much depth. This is the team to beat in this group, and to me, the team to beat in the entire tournament. So let's go to the next one. By the way, they really gave them a great few cities to play in France, which obviously they're going to be one of the teams to watch. The most exciting team to watch, even if they don't win this whole thing, they're going to be the most exciting team in the tournament. They're going to play offensive football. There's going to be lots of space. Both teams are going to be running up and down. It's going to be like PSG, basically. So they play Senegal the first game in New York City. Well, I guess not New York City, East Rutherford. Their second game, Iraq, Philly. Third game, Norway, Boston. So they got them New York City, Philly, and Boston. I mean, those crowds are going to be absolutely epic to see France play. Cannot wait for those games. So next team that I would say I think is going to finish second, but to me it's between them and Senegal, is Norway. So Norway, this is their first I thought this was their first World Cup ever. I was wrong about that. It's their first one since 1998. But this is like their golden generation of players. We've talked about that in episodes past with Belgium a couple World Cups ago. This was their golden generation, which is basically like everybody on the team is hitting their peak at the right time. Because international football, you just can't go sign anybody you want whenever they're good. It's really down to luck with these smaller countries like a Norway or a Belgium that you have to have all the stars align, everything come together for you to have a perfect mixture of all these players born at around the same time. And so this is like their golden generation of talent. Norway. Haaland, of course, you all know. Super striker from Manchester City. Arguably the best striker in the world. Sorloth, that might play both of them up top. He plays for Atletico Madrid. Huge, tall Viking. They're both like total Viking-looking guys. Most people in Norway are. Nusa, a great young player. He plays for Leipzig. He's 20. Thorsby plays in Italy, plays for Genoa. Great player. You probably just don't hear about him because who's watching Genoa play? I am. You can see Venezia jersey today. I didn't say this. If you missed last week's episode, we're wearing a jersey every single show now. So Venezia, we really went deep into the closet today for this one. But pretty kit. Anyway, Odegaard, a great midfielder, attacking midfielder. He plays for Arsenal. He's been sort of hurt for a while, but he's just started to come back. Perfect timing for not only Arsenal, but for Norway and how they're going to look in the World Cup. To have all those guys, the attacking talent they have, it's going to be fun, man. I can't wait for that. So the last game of the group is France-Norway. I don't think it's going to matter for France what happens in that game, but Norway might have to get a result, like a draw, depending on what happens with Senegal. So, like I said, I expect Norway to finish second in this group. They won all 8 qualifiers in their group and in their European group in the World Cup qualifiers, including 2 beatdowns of Italy, which forced Italy to have to go to the playoffs, and now they're not even in it. So Norway is responsible for Italy not being in the playoffs, being in the playoffs and not being in the World Cup. So this is going to be a strong-ass team in this tournament. All right, next one, Senegal. Senegal had like a crazy run last World Cup. They went to the quarterfinals, which is really surprising for a country like that. They just won the African Cup of Nations. I use the bunny ears because they won 1-0 on the pitch, and then 3 months later were told by some court that they actually lost. And they were given a 3-0 loss to Morocco. So what happened at the end of that final was there was a penalty called against Senegal. The players went ballistic, thought it was unfair. They left the field for a while, had to be convinced to come back out. Then the penalty was taken by Brahim Diaz of Morocco. He missed, went to extra time. Senegal ended up winning. But I guess the court's decision was based on them leaving the field and said, well, because they did that, they deserve a 3-0 loss. They're still winners to me and everybody else. What are you going to go steal that trophy from them? But anyway, Senegal, so they're the best team in Africa right now, I would say, them and Morocco. So they have some talent. The only problem is we haven't really seen these guys in a while because a lot of them are playing in the Saudi League, which we've talked about before. Who knows what the hell's going on there? Nobody watches it. The talent level of a league like that compared to any other in Europe is so much less that it's hard to really tell how good these guys are at this point in their career. So Sadio Mane, one of the most fun players in the world when he played for Liverpool, just him and Salah, like the 1-2 punch they had, just spectacular. Koulibaly, another guy who plays in Saudi now, he's a defender, used to have a great career with Napoli. I don't know what he's doing there, but still a good player. Idrissa Gueye, he played in England. I think he still does. Sarr plays for Tottenham. And Nico Jackson. So not my favorite player, but maybe good enough to get them out of the group. We'll see. Or maybe even a high enough third place finish to get out of the group. So he's the second striker. He plays for Bayern Munich. He never really starts. Like this weekend, he played in a game that they already won the league in, and they have the Champions League coming up this week, so they wanted to rest Kane for most of the game. So he plays in games like that. So he hasn't had a great run this season. So that's always interesting when you see guys who don't really play a lot, and then, hey, you're a starter now in the World Cup at the game's biggest stage. You're a starter, and let's see what you got after you started like 10 games this year. So really odd scenario for Nico Jackson if he is going to be the main striker for Senegal. So they play a friendly against us, the United States, May 31st. That game's going to tell us a lot going right before the tournament about what both of these teams are going to look like. By the way, Christian Pulisic, rumor of him going to Manchester United today. Stay tuned on that one. That would be a hell of a transfer. I would love to see that. So let's get back to this. The winner of this group I plays a third place team. We think that's France. So that's a pretty easy road for France to get out of this and the first knockout round. They'll take out any third place team pretty easily. Now, if you win or if you finish second in this group, you play the second place team in Group E, which to me is either going to be the Ivory Coast or Ecuador. So to me, if Norway gets through, that's a pretty easy matchup for them. All right, Group J, my favorite letter. Don't really need to explain that one. I think you all know why. So Group J has another heavy power, Argentina, the winner of the last World Cup in Qatar. Most famous player in the world, Messi, plays for them. But here's the question. Will he play? We'll get to that in a second. So it's Argentina, it's Austria, it's Algeria, a lot of A's, and Jordan. So Argentina minus 335, pretty heavy favorites to get out of this group, number one. Austria, 4-1 odds. Algeria, 7-1 odds. Jordan, 40-1. Michael Jordan has better odds to win this group than the country of Jordan, folks. So we won't worry about them too much today or during the tournament. So Austria, they're going to be battling with Algeria. That's going to be an interesting one to finish second in the group. But either way, out of those two, I don't see them doing anything after this round, after the group stage. So we won't spend too much time on them. But Argentina, another one of the favorites to win this thing. Obviously, they won the last one we just said against France. Sort of a surprise because they didn't play well like in the beginning of the tournament in Qatar, but certainly caught their stride and finished strong with beating France. So the number one question, I just brought it up, Messi, what's he going to do? He hasn't committed to playing yet in the World Cup. He also hasn't said he's not going to play. I get like after he won 4 years ago, I just kind of assumed that was it for him. He wasn't going to play in this one. Like, I'm going to retire on top internationally wise with a World Cup trophy. The last thing of my career I needed to accomplish was to win the World Cup. Boom, check mark, did that. So I'm kind of surprised that he's still, I'm sort of surprised that he's going to come back. I didn't think he had 4 years left in him, but he does. So he's been playing in MLS for Inter Miami. That's like the Saudi league to me. The level of talent is so low. You know, he's playing against old guys like himself and plumbers, pipe fitters, all kinds of guys like that. No, I disrespect the MLS, but it's just an okay league, guys. If I'm being honest, it's not very great. I would say it's probably on the level of like the second division in England, like the championship. So yes, Messi's doing well, I guess, playing against guys in the second division in England, like big freaking deal. So I think Messi will decide that he's going to play. He just scored again on Saturday. Like, he looks decent enough. You know Argentina's going to welcome him back because why wouldn't you? He's arguably the greatest player of all time. You're going to bring him back. But will he help or hurt the team? We'll see, because they already have so much strong attacking talent. He's older now. He's not going to be like pressing hard. He's not going to be able to defend whatsoever. So we'll see. Can you bring on a luxury player? I mean, you can in this state with the group stage. Messi could start and it wouldn't matter, and walk around the pitch the whole time without the ball. It wouldn't matter. But when we get to the nitty-gritty of the tournament, can you still have a luxury player like Messi walking around the pitch when you're playing France or Spain and, you know, they're pressing their ass off and they're in his face like all day. We'll see. We'll see what those old ass legs got in them. So Messi, number one question mark for me. But let's go through their players. Like the attacking talent I just said, they're going to have Lautaro Martinez. They're going to have Julian Alvarez up top. Martinez, one of Inter's best players, probably the best striker in Italy, and has been for a while now. Just a very solid player. Hasn't really done too much for Argentina on the international stage, but this might be his World Cup. Now, Julian Alvarez, he's been super hot right now for Atletico. Amazing free kick taker. That's another thing. Like, so are we gonna, when there is a free kick and let's say Messi's playing, are you gonna not have Alvarez take it, even though he's like the hottest human on the planet right now, free kick wise, and have to have Messi take it because he is Messi? We'll see. Like, there's a lot of, when you got a superstar like that in your lineup, man, there's a lot of stuff that can go on that isn't necessarily for the better of morale with the team. We'll get to that when we get to Real Madrid. So the midfield, Paredes, one of my favorite players of all time. He's playing for Boca right now, which is, talk about like low-level football. The Argentinian league is low level, but he's sort of at the end of his career. He went to Boca to retire. But he's not a guy who has to run around a lot anyway. He is going to beat you by his amazing passing, his high football IQ. He makes the right tackle. He just makes all the correct decisions. So I think he's going to be starting for them in central defense, or midfield, I should say. Rodrigo De Paul, great player. McAllister plays for Liverpool. He's like more of an attacking midfielder. So they just got a ton in midfield. Defense, they got Christian Romero, they got Otamendi. Like, these are superstar guys, man. So Argentina is going to be up there once again towards the end of the tournament, like they seemingly always are. So if you finish first in this group, you play the second place team in Group H. That's probably going to be Uruguay. So we could have an all South American knockout round between Argentina and Uruguay, which will be kind of boring. I hate when you get stuff like that this early in the tournament, but whatever, it is what it is. So if you finish second, you play probably Spain. But let's just say some chaos ensues. Argentina let's just say they go limping into this group off of a World Cup win. They're not going to be as motivated after they've already won the World Cup. Maybe it takes them a couple games into the tournament to get going, and they finish second in this group. So if that happens and Spain wins their group, we can have Argentina versus Spain in the first knockout round. That's going to be like one of the matches that could be like as good, if not better, than the World Cup final. So we'll see. I'm secretly cheering for Argentina to finish second in this group for that. So the next team I'll talk about, Austria. They haven't been in the World Cup since 1998. I was sort of surprised by that because they've had good showings in the Euros recently. So they have a pretty strong core. The David Alabas, the Sabitzas, the Konrad Leimers. You're going to see him. You saw him play for Bayern. So Baumgartner. Like, they have very good professional guys. Not great, though. They're not going to win any knockout round, I think. But to me, they're going to get out of this group. So I'm going to have Argentina number 1, Austria number 2. But we're all cheering for Argentina to finish second and play Spain in the knockout round. I mean, that's juicy as hell. But is it as juicy as PSG versus Bayern? No, because nothing was. I told you guys last week this was our game of the week, the game to watch. It didn't take a freaking genius to point that out, but I was right. The first leg of this was arguably the best game I've ever seen. I guess I'm stopping myself from saying, but for being so concrete on that, because I don't want to be a prisoner of the moment. It just happened last week. And also, I'll get to it a little later. There was some comic defending at times that sort of made it, I guess, not be the best game of all time. But let's go through what happened. So, 5-4. So my original prediction from last week's show was, after 2 legs, Bayern would beat PSG 5-4 on aggregate. I was right about 5-4. The only problem was it was PSG, and the only other problem was it was after one freaking game, not two. So an absolutely amazing performance from both teams attacking wise. Ironically, in a game with so many opportunities and chances, like Bayern had like 1,000 touches in the opposition's third. It was crazy. 1,000,000 shots by both teams, but ironically, 0 saves by either keeper. So there was a lot of balls like just wide or off the crossbar. Those don't count as saves. And I wouldn't necessarily say the keepers had a bad game either. It was crazy. For a game with 9 goals, you would expect a couple blunders. But no, I think both keepers were pretty all right. No huge mistakes. There's a famous Italian saying that's like, a 0-0 draw is the perfect game of football because no one made a mistake. And it always makes me laugh. And that is the antithesis of what we saw here. But there wasn't a ton of mistakes. But some comedic defending. We'll get to that. So it starts out like back and forth immediately. And after 10 minutes, I wrote down, this game could have 1,000 goals. And I was right. So the 15th minute, surprisingly, it was not from open play that we get our first goal, but pretty solid penalty for me. Beautiful build-up play. Diaz won a penalty. Kane, of course, made it. Kane, by the way, a goal in his last 8 games after that, and that was his 6th straight game with a goal in the Champions League. So the highest level of football in the world. He scored 6 straight games, man. Like, I think he's at 50 goals this year, maybe even more. It just absurd numbers from Kane in that Bayern attack. So Bayern opens up 1-0. Olise has another opportunity to make it 2-0. But then PSG really started, like both teams, it was back and forth. It was an NBA game. There was so much space. So Bayern's doing this man marking all over the field. So you're just naturally going to have open space with the athletes that PSG has. They're going to beat their man. It was chaos, but it was so much fun to watch, man. I mean, I don't remember ever jumping up off the couch that many times or being like, oh my God, baby, did you see? Like, how insane was that? It was just like every 5 seconds in that game, there was some crazy moment. And it was all offensive. There wasn't, I guess, at the very last play of the game, actually, there was a header from somebody off the line, maybe Marquinhos or somebody off the line from a Bayern corner kick. That was like one of the only good defensive plays of the game I remember. So Dembele misses a huge opportunity 1-on-1 to make it 1-1, but then Kvara, just one of my favorite players in the world. Kvaratskhelia, unfortunately, he won't be playing in the World Cup. He plays for Georgia. They didn't qualify. But this guy, it's him or Olise that's like the best player in the world right now. It's crazy. I mean, it changes like every week. But for me, those two. And after this game especially. So no break in the game. End to end. It was like you're watching this thinking, how can they keep this up physically? How can both these teams have it so much stamina to just be running back and forth the whole game, running hard? Like from one end, the goalie will get it, roll it out, then they're running as hard the other way, like just constant running, like sprints, man. So I don't know, but they kept it up stamina-wise. Like Bayern, so PSG has like a ton of depth, a ton of young guys, young legs that can just get out there and run. You look at the bench of Bayern, you're like, what the hell? This is Bayern Munich? They were forced to use 3 subs just based on tiredness. But I don't even think they could have used a 4th. They wouldn't have anybody good enough to bring on. You're scratching your head like, who the hell are these guys? And this is Bayern Munich. So I was actually, from someone who doesn't really watch the Bundesliga week in and week out and really hasn't followed Bayern in the league too much this year, I was surprised that they don't have like any depth in their lineup. So that might be something that works against them on Wednesday. We'll see, even though it is in Germany. So it gets to 1-1 after the Kvara goal. And then the smallest player on the pitch, João Neves, scores a header on a corner, which it's really funny to see a short little guy like that score. But just an absolute perfect cross, perfect header. So it's 2-1. Then Olise, with an absolute beautiful goal, makes it 2-2. My problem with the goal was the defending, man. And this is one of the... I was going to bring it up later, but I'll just bring it up now. Well, as we're talking about the goal. He is dribbling in right outside of the box and then makes his way into the box. There's like 4 guys for PSG that just give him all kinds of freaking space. And they're just like, let him walk into the box on his left and slam it into the net. Somebody's got to come in there, make a tackle, at the very least, get in his way, make it a little bit uncomfortable, put a block in. Like, somebody has to do something. I guess they were scared to give away a penalty. Maybe they were scared that they come in, he dumps it off to his left to a teammate at the very last second. I don't know, but you got to go up there and try to make a tackle, guys. That was embarrassing. That and another play, a couple other plays were reasons why it's just like, hard for me to be like, this was the greatest game ever played, because there was so many like head scratching moments like that defensively. You're just like, what the hell? So it's 2-2. You think it's about to be halftime. You're just like, wow, that was a fantastic half of football. And me, selfishly having picked Bayern to win 5-4, I'm cheering for Bayern in this. Which normally I don't care about either one of these teams. I don't hate either one of these teams. So I really didn't have a dog in the fight, but picking Bayern, I want to be right. So I'm pretty excited about a 2-2 halftime in Paris result. That's not what happened. Right before half, there's like a cross put in. Ah, man, who is it? I forget who crossed it in on for PSG, maybe Dembele or something. But it's like the weakest handball you've ever seen. It hits off the thigh, like the inside of a thigh, and then hits his arm. And even if it didn't hit the thigh for me, the arm was at its side. The ref in the moment didn't call it a foul. He had a clear view because it wasn't a freaking foul. But of course, VAR tells him to go to the monitor, and he changes his mind. Here's a quick aside. I was going to wait to talk about it with the Arsenal game, but just because the VAR refs call you over to the monitor doesn't mean you have to change your mind. But every ref, and it's in every country, and it's in the Champions League, it's in Italy, it's in England, Germany, Spain. When they call their ass over to the monitor, these guys change their mind 100% of the time. And have a little bit of respect for yourself. Tell the guys up there, no, I saw what happened. I'm seeing it now, and I don't agree on that. There's no freaking way that guy could have changed his mind after seeing those replays. It should have made him even stronger in his opinion that it wasn't a penalty. Anyway, it's a penalty. Dembele scores. So it's 3-2 at half. And I'm thinking, man, I really just got screwed, but Bayern will get back in it. They always do. No worries. That's not what happened right away. What happened right away was PSG just was dominating at the very beginning of the second half. They scored 2 goals off rip, after 10 minutes. One I really had a problem with was the Kvaratskhelia second goal. So Hakimi, who's one of the most attacking fullbacks in the world, like the fastest fullback, you think you might want to have a guy covering him. He has 40 yards of space, not a soul in sight. I guess Limer got 2 up close to the opposite goal and just lost touch. I don't even know what happened. But Hakimi's running in acres of space, literally 40 yards, nobody's around him. Puts in a cross. I forget which player. Maybe Dembele lets the ball go. Genius play, and Kvara finishes it at the far post. So that makes it 4-2. And then immediately after that, Dembele scores, goes off the post, beautiful goal, 5-2. And you're thinking, woo, Not only is this game over, this tie is over. I don't care what Bayern's got a whole nother game back at home next week. I didn't care. At that point, I'm like, this is over. It's 5-2. It's a wrap. No. This wasn't just any Champions League game. This was arguably the greatest Champions League game of all time. Bayern was not dead. So, if you're up 5-2, usually in a game of this magnitude, you won't necessarily park the bus, which is send all 10 guys back on your, defending your goal, and just every time you get the ball, kick it out, or, clearance. I didn't expect them to do that, Jose Mourinho style, but I expected them to play a lot more defensively than what they did. They didn't change and by PSG didn't change their game plan at all, which in hindsight was really stupid. But even at the time, I'm screaming at the television. At this point of the game, I didn't care about my prediction anymore. As just a person with Italian blood, I was furious about the non-defending. If you don't know, Italy is very famous for their defending. They take it very seriously. They're very prideful of it. So I'm watching this game at 5-2. My blood is boiling. I'm screaming at PSG for not playing in a more defensive, let's have a couple lines of defense here. Let's just take this 5-2 lead. And what's the worst that could happen? It finishes 5-3 and we go back with a 2-goal advantage to Bayern. No, instead they just play their crazy ass, chaotic offensive style of football, and it bit them in the ass. So first, they give up a foul on the edge of the box. Kimmich puts a great cross in. Upamecano, did he head it into the goal? I'm not even sure if it's even... They claim that he touched the ball before it went in the net, but I'm not even sure still a week later if he did. But they give the goal to Upamecano, so now it's instantly back 5-3, and you're like, woo, that's why you got to play more defensive. So, and this one's even worse. By the way, this one becomes the goal of the week for me. Kane has the ball around the halfway mark, puts in one of the best passes you'll ever see, over the top, perfect curl on it, perfect weight on the ball, and Brahim Diaz, Luis Diaz for Bayern Munich takes it down, perfect first touch, and PSG's playing this inexplicable defense at this time, like I just said, where Marquinhos is the only player. They're playing one-on-one, so he's the only player back there to defend him. It's in the box. It's crazy, and Luis Diaz absolutely abused Marquinhos on that play, schooled him, a little trickery, got the keeper too. And for him, that was an easy finish. But man, if you haven't seen that goal, just a perfect pass, a perfect little juke move, perfect first touch from Diaz, perfect all around from Kane and Diaz on that goal. Just brilliant. That makes it 5-4. There was more chances for goals, back and forth, people. But it finished at 5-4. PSG hit the post, or I'm trying to think of who it was. They brought a sub on. He hits the post. Bayern Munich, like I said, off a corner at the last very end of the game, almost ties it with a header. But we're in the half, you could say, with PSG up 5-4. So we got the next game, the second leg in Munich on Wednesday, and there's no way that it lives up to the first leg. I mean, it's not going to finish 0-0. I don't even think it'll finish 1-1. I'm expecting at least 3 goals combined in leg 2, but there's no way it's going to live up to the first game. But I'm really excited to see what Bayern's got at home. I heard a crazy take by the Paramount Plus broadcaster. He's like, it's not like home field advantage is going to matter next week when they go to Munich. I disagree with that. I think the home field advantage is much more like the crowd in Munich is a bigger, better beast than in Paris. Give me a freaking break. Like, PSG has some loud ultras and the crowd can get lit. But man, the crowd in Munich, it's going to be serious. So I think the crowd could make a difference. If Bayern take an early lead in that game, the pressure could get onto these young PSG players, even though they just did win the Champions League. We'll see. But that, to me, is going to be our game of the week. Wednesday, Bayern versus PSG. I'm doing it again. We made the first leg the game of the week. It was 5-4. We're doing it again. Hopefully we get another 5-4, and it goes to extra time. So next Champions League game, Atletico versus Arsenal. All the memes after the first game were like, oh, so negative about what you're going to see in the Atleti versus Arsenal game. It was a great game. I mean, there wasn't 9 goals, but it was still a great game, a great Champions League semifinal first leg. A lot of controversy, though. A lot of controversy, a lot of penalties, a lot of VAR talk. So at first, I got to say this. Paramount Plus, dude, screw you guys. I mean, the entire first half of the game, the sound was a little bit ahead of the picture. So I literally had to have it on mute. I put like a podcast on while I watched the first half of the game because you could hear what was happening before you could see it happening. So it just ruined the whole broadcast for the first half. If you're at Paramount and you know this is happening live, why not just turn the broadcast off or the sound off so we could just watch it in peace? Is it that important for you to have your crappy ass announcing team, like, who's not even at the game, by the way, because you don't want to pay money to have somebody fly in Europe or just have a team that's always in Europe doing the game? That is another thing that really pisses me off. So, I mean, how much money does Paramount have? You own CBS, the Redstones. I don't know if they still own it, whatever. Bazillions of dollars. And if you want people to take your coverage of the Champions League seriously, spend the money to have a broadcast team that's actually in the stands at the freaking game, man. Instead, they spent all this money to have this team with Thierry Henry and Micah Richards, and it's like, I guess they can. It's not for me. I'll just tell you that. I don't like any studio shows, any sports. Like, even inside the NBA, people were obsessed with that, how funny it was. I don't care about it. I don't care about studio shows. So they spent all this money on the studio show to get some high stars that I guess are funny at times. But to me, that's wasted money. Just take a portion of that to pay to have a broadcast team in the stands for these huge... This is the semifinals of the Champions League, and you want people to take your product seriously, and you have sound issues the entire first half to where I can't even have the sound on at all? And it's Arsenal playing. So you have all these English football fans who watch NBC's coverage of the Premier League every week in and week out for years, is spectacular, 0 complaints, and then they go over to watch their team play on Paramount, and it's dog crap. Like, be better, CBS. Seriously, that really pissed me off, man. And like, you're supposed to be trying to turn people on to this sport in America, especially right before the World Cup. You just had a 5-4 match the day before. Get your crap straight, man. Like, seriously, that really grinds my gears when stuff like that happens. Anyway, sorry for that. But be better, Paramount. All right, so the first penalty, clear pen. They run into the back of Gyökeres. He scores. No complaints from me on that one. Although I saw some stuff on Twitter, and then I heard in multiple shows people complaining about that. I don't get that. To me, clear penalty. First one for Atleti. Soft penalty, but I see why it was given. But again, this was a VAR. The ref sees it. He didn't call it a penalty on the field. He goes to the monitor and he overturns it. So the guy's arm is kind of like hanging down and the ball hits it. It's sort of out of position, I guess. Soft penalty, but I'll let you have that. They even it up. That's the first half. Atletico looked great in the second half. I thought they were going to score a couple goals. They got pretty unlucky. As somebody who picked Arsenal to win 4-1 over 2 legs, I was feeling like a big idiot in that second half when Atletico was just looking great. I'm like, there's no way that they're just going to score this one goal. But they ended up only scoring that one goal. We'll see what happens tomorrow in London. But I have to talk about the penalty that was taken away. It makes no sense to me. A week later, I just rewatched the highlights this morning. So Eze, who looked great, and I think they brought him on like later in the game. So if I believe I would be shocked if he didn't start from the beginning of the game in the second leg, because he looked so good towards the end of the game in the first leg. So he comes in, he gets a pass on the ground coming from him into the box, fools the defender, gets the first touch. The defender steps on his foot, Eze's foot. Clear foul, penalty. Ref called it right away. Everybody in the stadium saw it. Clear as day, folks. It's called 9 out of 10 times in every country in Europe. Inexplicably, the VAR calls down to the ref, has him go look at the monitor. The monitor is showing that there is contact, just like he saw. There's a foul. It's a penalty. I don't know what the F was going on in that headset, but they convinced this ref to change his mind. Like I just said earlier, every single time these guys go to the monitor, they change their mind. They have no cojones to stand up for themselves and say, no, I saw it. I'm watching it again. I'm sticking with my call. Original call. They never do that. I don't know what the hell they got over these refs, but when it comes to the VAR, they do whatever they're told. It's really weird. It's fishy, man. It's more than weird. It's very fishy in a sport where we have lots of, referees getting in trouble for things. It's very fishy. I'll end it at that. So the next leg tomorrow, Tuesday, I should say. We're recording this Monday, May 4th. May the 4th be with you. So we'll see tomorrow in London. I think Arsenal is going to play really well and win this game. I don't see extra time. I don't see a 4-1 prediction or 4-1 scoreline like I predicted last week, but I could see a 3-1 Arsenal victory, something like that. All right. So that's our... I got to give game of the week to the PSG game coming up on Wednesday, PSG Bayern, and my goal of the week last week was from that game as well, the Kane to Diaz. All right. Real Madrid time. Absolute drama at Real Madrid. Juicy, juicy drama, folks. So they've had a crappy season. I don't think they won any trophies. They certainly didn't win any important trophies. They're going to lose their league if they're not already mathematically ineligible to win. They didn't win the Copa del Rey. They got knocked out in the Champions League last round. And I don't think they won the Super Cup even, which is a fake trophy that I don't count, but I don't even think they won that. So it's been a terrible season for them. So at Real Madrid, if you don't win a trophy, it's a catastrophe. If a whole season with no trophy, that's terrible. So they had Xabi Alonso come in. They had to fire him. They have a caretaker manager in. He's not going to become the full-time. So there's a lot of speculation on who the next manager is going to be. We'll get to that. And I can't wait to get to that. But first, drama within the locker room. Kylian Mbappe. Everybody knows him. We just talked about him with France. Arguably the best player in the world. He has been known to be sort of a drama queen in his last stop with PSG. So there was like 3 years there where there was so much drama going into the end of the year about PSG wanted to re-sign him or get a contract extension from him so that when they inevitably sell him and he goes to Real Madrid, they'll make a lot of money from it. But then he wanted to be a free agent so that Real Madrid could sign him more easily. He was basically forcing his way to Real Madrid, and he did it over like 3 seasons. So there was always drama in the offseason about, is this the year Mbappe finally leaves to go to Real Madrid? So he's known to be a diva off the field and cause drama in a locker room, with the front office, all kinds of stuff like that. So it's no surprise that only being at Real Madrid for a couple seasons, we're starting to see some of that stuff appear. So, like I said, season's been a disaster. They've kind of not been great since the Mbappe signing in general. Like, the team was running on all cylinders before that, winning the Champions League like every year. You know, everything was working perfect with the attack. Vinny Jr. was arguably the best winger in the world. And then Mbappe comes. And then things get a lot harder to try to fit him. Where are you going to force him into the lineup? He has to play every game because now he's the best player in the world. And even you have to change things. So they brought in Xabi Alonso. I had a feeling this wouldn't work because he's like a very tactical manager. We'll save that. We'll save that for the manager part. I shouldn't have even gone there. So Mbappe. So Mbappe is hurt right now. And he wasn't going to be healthy enough for this past weekend's game. But instead of still being at the game for his teammates, sitting up. Usually if a guy's hurt, it'll be like in the NBA, when Tatum was hurt for Game 7 that just happened this weekend, he's still sitting on the bench in street clothes with the team, supporting the team. And when that doesn't happen, there's controversy. We had it with Kyrie, with the Celtics back in the day. When guys just don't go to the game when the rest of their team is there, like even though they're hurt, it's very weird to see that. That's exactly what we saw this weekend. So usually they're sitting up in the stands, whatever, in street clothes with their girl or with another teammate that's hurt, something like that. Mbappe was nowhere to be seen, but we found him, folks. We found him. We had an APB out. Mbappe was photographed in Sardinia on a yacht with the beautiful actress Esther Esposito. Beautiful Italian girl. So he's in Italy. Sardinia is like an island off the coast of the mainland. And it's spectacular. So I can't blame a man for wanting to be on a yacht in Sardinia with a beautiful Italian actress. But your job is your job. You should be there to support your team, especially given what's coming up this weekend. El Clasico, folks. Barca's playing Real. I mean, even though there's really nothing to play for in the league, Real, it would still make you feel good to win this, the biggest rivalry in all of world football. This is the biggest game of the year in Spain every year. So I'm assuming he's not even going to be playing in that. We'll see. Lots of drama. So Jude Bellingham. So these photos are everywhere now. We'll show them. I'm sure. These photos are everywhere of Mbappe. And so I'm sure his teammates were a little perturbed by that. Actually, I know for a fact they were. Jude Bellingham, their midfielder, their English midfielder, one of the leaders of the team, posted a picture after they won this weekend. So they won without Mbappe. Vinny scored both goals. They beat Espanyol 2-0. Jude Bellingham posts a picture of the starting lineup and all 11 guys. Obviously, Mbappe not included. So, and he put it on Instagram right after the game. I saw another thing, I believe, was from Karim Benzema, who doesn't play for them anymore, but was a legend at Real Madrid. And I think that was anti-Mbappe. So there's been a few people reading into that post by Bellingham like, oh my gosh, he's obviously, putting that on his timeline because it's anti-Mbappe. It's showing hey, these are the guys, these are the team right here. Screw this guy out in Sardinia with his actress girlfriend. So if there's some stuff going on in the locker room like that, it doesn't bode well for the future of this club, man, because Bellingham and Mbappe both get paid $1 bazillion. And they're both leaders of the team. So we'll see. There's obviously factions in the locker room right now. I'm sure Mbappe's got the French guys on his side, the Camavingas, the Tucumenis, guys like that. Maybe Jude Bellingham has everybody else. So we'll see. There's only one man that can come and save this. His name is Jose Mourinho. That's right, folks. My boy Jose, back in the news. He's been rumored to be offered the Real Madrid job after all these years. At first I thought this was like just clickbait crap, but it seems to have legs. As a matter of fact, club president Florentino Perez, is meeting with him in person either today or tomorrow. So originally Mourinho said he didn't want the job, which I was shocked by. Like, he's been out of the picture of elite clubs for years now. So he was at Real Madrid from 2010 to 2013, and that was during Pep's Barca years. So when Barca was like running things, Barca had won like 3 La Ligas in a row. Mourinho wins one. He won the Copa del Rey with them. So he won a couple trophies. I think he won a Super Cup there. But things didn't end well with Real, always drama. So there was drama when Jose left. So maybe that had something to do with him not wanting to come back. But I thought for sure, because he went to Chelsea and then, what was it? United, didn't win nothing at United. Maybe a League Cup or something. Spurs, didn't go well at Spurs. He got to a League Cup final. They fired him before the final. They didn't let him manage the final, that's just ridiculous. That, a club like Tottenham, they would pull some crap like that. That's why you guys don't win anything. Have a little respect. Seriously. Fire him right after the final. Who cares? At least let him manage the final. Then he goes to Roma. I might get that order. I know he goes to Roma. He wins the Conference League there. Then he goes to Fenerbahce. Total failure in Turkey. Now he's at Benfica. He hasn't won anything there. He'll probably finish second place. So he's been at these second level clubs. The Romas, the Fenerbahces, the Benficas, big in their country, massive in their country, obviously. But on a European Champions League type scale, they're next level, lower level. So I was surprised that he was going to get this opportunity, and I was even more shocked to learn that he declined the opportunity at first. Because he's all about him and his legacy and his bravado. He would love to rub it in everyone's face that he's back at Real Madrid, the biggest club in the world, So I was sort of surprised that he declined, but now there's this news coming out that he's meeting with Perez in person in the next couple of days. So I'm 90% sure that Mourinho is going to be the next manager of Real Madrid in 2026. Insane. Here's why I think it'll work. Even more insane, I think it will work. Real hadn't won anything this year, so you can only go up from there. They brought in a guy, Xabi Alonso, who was spectacular at Leverkusen, tactically wise, one of the best managers in the game over the last few years. But that's not a guy that works at Real. You don't bring in a tactical guy to manage all of these Galacticos, these superstar players. You have a guy like Carlo Ancelotti, who simple tactics, but knows how to push every particular player's buttons, knows how to keep the locker room strong and together, unlike what we're seeing in the locker room right now. There's a lot of egos in the Real Madrid locker room, folks. Every single one of those players thinks they're the best player on the planet. You got to manage all those egos. Jose is perfect for that. That is his thing. He's not a tactical genius. He's going to have simple tactics. He's going to get them to play defense and play on the counterattack, which they're built to do. And, with Vinny and Mbappe. So I think he's going to win something next year if he's the man. Maybe the league, maybe just a Copa del Rey. I don't expect them to win the Champions League. I don't expect Jose to win the Champions League. But I expect Real to do something next year, honestly. Call me crazy. Call me what you want. Jose, please do this. And Real, please do this. The content we will get for the next, I mean, it might even last 6 months. He might get canned after a few months. But either way, it's going to be gold content. Like, we need Jose back at Real. Do you remember all the good times we had? 2010 through 2013. We need Mourinho back in our lives at a high level. We need to hear him in the pressers every week. So if it's not going to be back in the Premier League, what's better than Real Madrid? Nothing. Real Madrid is above the Premier League when it comes to like drama. So I'm just praying every night that Real makes the right decision, does the right thing, and hires my boy Jose. Please hire Jose, Real. All right. That's going to be it for this week's show. You guys know what to watch. Our game of the week, we already said, it's Bayern versus PSG. The Champions League is just so much fun at this point in time of the year. So enjoy it tomorrow. Enjoy it on Wednesday. Enjoy the Premier League. Listen, Arsenal, huge win this weekend against Fulham. City's playing right now. That's why we're not really talking too much about the Premier League on this episode, because they play today. So who knows what the Premier League is going to look like by the time our next episode comes around. Really exciting week ahead. And I can't wait to talk about it with you next Monday. Have a good one, guys.
Hey guys, Taylor Dahl here. Thanks so much for watching 1010XL on YouTube. If you bleed black and teal on Sundays, make sure to head over and subscribe to 1010XL Jaguars. And if on Saturday you're wearing that orange or blue, make sure you like and subscribe over on 1010XL Gators. As usual, make sure you're locked in on this main channel. Like and subscribe right here.